Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to welcome to the last of the OCBC VBT adult study classes. There have been 5 before this one, and they've all been excellent presentations of the Dharma. And I hope that what you hear today will fit right in with the other discussions. I think the protocol is that we begin with chanting, and we will chant Jusege today. So join me in Gasho, and we will begin chanting. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Agon Chosegan, Ishi Mujodo, Shigan Fumanzo, Se Fujo Shoga, Dao Muyoko, Fui Dai Seishu, Busai Sho Bingu, Sei Fujo Shoga, Gashi Jo Butsudo, Yosho Chojipo, Kukyo Mishomon, Sei Fujo Shoga, Ryokujin Shonen, Joe Shubongyo, Shigu Mujodo, Isho Teninshi, Jinriki Endaiko, Fusho Musaido, Shoujo San Kumyo, Kosai Shuyakunan, Kaihi Chiegen, Meshi Konmoan, Heisokusho Akudo, Sudatsu Zen Shumon, Koso Jo Manzo, Iyoro Jipo, Nichigatsu Shujuki, Tenko Onfugen, Ishu Kai Hozo, Kosei Kudoku Ho, Jo Dai Shuchu, Seppo Shishiku, Kuyo Isai Boots, Gusoku Shu Toku Hon, Gane Shitsujo Man, Toku Isan Gaio, Nyobutsu Geichi, Sudatsumi Fusho, Ganga Kueri, Toshi Sai Shoson, Shiganyakoka, Daisen Okando, Koku Shotenin, Tochi Myoke, Namandabu, Namandabu, Naamandabu, Namandabu, Namandabu Ganishikudoku Yodo Seisai Dohon Bodaishin Ojo Anrako. Namanda, 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 Namanda. So my talk today is focused on the Dharma, but in a different way, maybe a different perspective. And I'm calling it faith in the Buddha. I've wanted to talk about faith for a long time, and it just seems like when I talk to other senseis, particularly about it, that this tends to be something not really prominent. That is faith, the concept of faith in Buddhism. And I think some of it has to do with the many Buddhist converts that have come to Buddhism. And I think they come to Buddhism looking for something different from maybe the faith based in a God religion that they left behind. So whenever the word of faith would come up in Buddhism, I think they would probably feel like, oh, a little red flag is going up. And so I think that's part of the reason. But with my full understanding of these preconceived notions about faith, I'm choosing to talk about it today and relate it to Buddhism. So I want to begin with saying that words have power depending on the meaning that we give them. Now, we've all used the word faith. Mostly when we use the word faith, it's not in a spiritual or a religious context. We can say we have faith in another person, we have faith in our pets or sports teams or whatever. So faith is when it's not associated with a spiritual practice or religion, it seems that there's not any difficulty in using that word. And because so many people use it, I think maybe to have faith in someone or something is a human characteristic. Think about faith in oneself. I think that's pretty important. When you have something difficult or challenging that you're setting out to do, wouldn't you think there's a certain element of faith in yourself? You could call it confidence, but I think faith it carries deeper even than saying confidence. So the point I want to make today is that a non-theistic religion like Buddhism does not have to avoid the use of the word faith because of its more recognizable use in a monotheistic religion. But whether faith regains uses in Buddhism may become a matter of choice. There are many Buddhist practices, and perhaps having faith in the Buddha is expressed in other practices using different terminology. The remarkable thing about Buddhism is that it's not a one-size-fits-all religion. We are told that there are 84,000 gates or paths to enlightenment. We're not all cut from the same cloth. Each of us is drawn to the Buddhist practice that can best be applied to the challenges of our everyday life. I'm deeply drawn to Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, because of his humility and his faith in the Nembutsu teaching. Shinran writes about faith in both the collected works of Shinran and in his Hyogyo Shinsho text. From the collected works, in a chapter on essentials of faith alone, he writes, "Faith is the heart and mind without doubt. It is changing, which is true and real. To be free of self-power, having entrusted oneself to other power of the primal vow, this is faith alone," end quote. There's much more that can be offered on how Shinran expressed his reliance on faith in his writings. However, that would be the content for another entire Dharma talk. So I want to mention, though, that our founder expressed his deep faith in the Pure Land teaching of the Nembutsu. So let's look at faith from another quote. And this quote is from the Shin Buddhist Service book that both temples, OCBC and BBT, and maybe other temples in Southern California as well, use. And it's the Shin Buddhist Service book. And so there's a quote in the book that is taken from, is a reprint from the book Teaching of Buddha. So I'm going to quote this one. "We speak of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha as though they are three different things, but they are really only one. Buddha is manifested in his Dharma and is realized by the Sangha. Therefore, to believe in the Dharma and to cherish the Sangha is to have faith in the Buddha. And to have faith in the Buddha means to believe in the Dharma and to cherish the Sangha," end quote. Oh, I'm sorry, that did not end quote. "Therefore, people are emancipated and enlightened simply by having faith in the Buddha," now end quote. So what does faith in the Buddha mean? I'll try to answer this question from my personal experience, as well as share some thoughts from some prominent Buddhist teachers. So starting with my background, I came to Buddhism well in my adult life. I was raised in a Christian family by my maternal grandparents who had a devout belief in God, a God of salvation. And for a while, I followed in the Christian path. But over time, I left that for a different path, that being Buddhism. I want to talk a little bit more about my grandparents, because my grandparents had deep faith in, and as far as their participation in a church and their beliefs in God. But there was another kind of faith that I saw in the community. Where I lived, it was a segregated Black community. And so the people in the community had to rely on each other. There was a faith that they shared among themselves, that they knew that if they were in need and needed something, some help, if they were in some trouble, that there would be somebody, a neighbor, several neighbors who would come to their aid. And so that, to me, was a simple kind of faith. It was a faith of loving kindness, a faith of generosity. And when I look back on that community, I think of my community as a sangha of like-minded people in who you could faithfully trust. All of the people who lived in this small community, they could put their faith in each other. So moving my story a little closer to the present day, in 2013, my husband and I went to India to join a tour on the Buddha Path pilgrimage. This was a life-changing journey for me as a Buddhist practitioner. I was able to sit in meditation under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, the very site where Siddhartha Gautama sat and meditated until he became known as Shakyamuni Buddha, the enlightened one, the one who is awake. We spent time meditating in all the sacred sites visited by the Buddha during his lifetime. Walking the historical path of the Buddha made a deep impression on me, and it strengthened my faith and the important teachings left behind by this historical teacher known as the Buddha. Faith in the Buddha is faith in the Buddha Dharma, the body of teachings that the Buddha taught when he lived and continued to be taught centuries after his death. It is not specific faith in Shakyamuni Buddha. Even the Buddha himself directed his disciples, only believe the teachings, he said. Don't believe in the teaching because I have said it. Experience it for yourself. Believe that which you find to be true for yourself. After the Buddha's death, his teachings were recorded in sutras by his disciples. The hundreds of different sutras have been passed on to guide the practice of many different schools of Buddhism. The Buddha, through his wisdom and compassion for sentient beings, spent 45 years teaching the Dharma to others. The Buddha died from illness and old age, just as we all will. The Dharma teaches us the path to liberation from suffering. Faith in the Dharma helps us to see clearly life as it is. Sharon Salzberg is co-founder of Insight Meditation Society, and she's written several books. The one I want to reference here is called Faith, Trusting Your Own Deepest Experience. The first step on, and I'm quoting her, the first step on the journey of faith is to recognize that everything is moving onward to something else, inside us and outside us. Seeing this truth is the foundation of faith, end quote. We recognize that we are not in control. We try to live in the present moment to the best of our abilities, regardless of our circumstances. I would add that faith gives us the wise view to see clearly and to accept life as it is and not as we would have it be. The first noble truth attests to life being difficult. Now I want to share the opinion of a Shin Buddhist minister in regard to the definition of faith. John Paraskevopoulos is a Shin Buddhist minister in Australia. He has written an essay on faith in his book titled, the book is titled, The Unhindered Path. In this essay, he gives his reasons for wanting to see faith regain usage in Shin Buddhism, but not as a replacement for Shinjin. Paraskevopoulos says that even though faith and Shinjin may have similar meanings, they are not interchangeable. One receives Shinjin from the faith of true and trusting beyond any doubt in Amida Buddha's primal vow, end quote. He points out that the word faith has a much broader meaning, than that which is usually ascribed to it, through conventional religions, particularly in the West. Quoting him, he says, it has the etymological roots in Latin as a word for trust, not blind trust, but a confidence based on apprehension of the truth. In this respect, it is opposed to doubt in that it presupposes a strong conviction of certainty, unlike belief, with which it is often confused and which sometimes has an aspect of wishful thinking to it. Faith, therefore, is grounded in a feeling of certainty and not the projection of arbitrary or capricious emotions. If we use the original meaning of faith, we do not need to sacrifice its use in Buddhism because of the Christian interpretation, end quote. Sharon Salzberg, who I quoted previously, gives her definition of faith as follows. She states, in Pali, faith is a verb, an action, as it is also in Latin and Hebrew. Faith is not a singular state that we either have or don't have, but is something that we do. The word for faith in Pali means to place the heart upon, to offer one's heart. By definition, it is to place one's heart in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, end quote. People in my childhood community understood faith as a verb. It was something that they did. It was something that needed to be done to help each other. Many Shin Buddhist temples are celebrating Obon this summer with COVID-19 modifications. This means most celebrations are being held virtually. Obon is a Japanese cultural celebration of familial and spiritual ancestors who are no longer with us. It is not difficult to imagine that these Buddhist ancestors, to whom we offer our gratitude for leading us the Pure Land path, possessed a deep faith in the Nimbutsu teaching of saying the name, Namo Amida Butsu. They put their faith in Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. They put their faith in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So in closing, whether we call Buddhism a practice that embodies faith or a practice of entrusting in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, may we follow in these ancestors' footsteps on the Pure Land path to our own liberation. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda. Thank you.